Well, Windows is a 4-year-old. Think about it. When you give it something, right?
Hmm.
Windows just puts it wherever on the hard drive. Like you give something to a 4-year-old, tell it to put it in its room, it just tosses it in its room. Whenever there's issues, when it's acting funky,
Hmm.
it just needs a nap. And in the case of Windows, it's called a reboot.
A new life begins!
Okay, so we are back to do episode 4 for what feels like the 20th time. We had virus run through the house. We've had some technical glitches and issues trying to get this done. We have actually recorded this thing, I think, 3 times.
This would be your third.
Or this is the third. Whatever. I feel like it's been 20, but I've also been trying to edit it and get through the glitches, and that just didn't happen. So here we are again, episode 4.
I guess for context, last time we tried to do this, I think it was the week of the 21st.
Yeah, that's when you got sick, but that's not the last time we've tried recording this.
Then we tried the 28th.
Yeah.
Then we tried last week, so it's been close to a month.
Yeah, it's been close to a month trying to get this thing done. So, we're scrapping pretty much anything that would have followed episode 3. We're going to get back on track this week. We do have a few things to get through on this episode and caught back up on stuff, try to run through some things. Beginning of October, we're going to have our normal episode, but then
Hmm.
we're also going to record a Ghost Machine special episode. We're waiting on Hyde Street to come out, which, if you haven't looked at the preview stuff on that, it looks amazing.
Let's get Ivan Reyes on art, so it's gonna look pretty good.
Yeah, it looks good. The story was good. Both the preview in the Ghost Machine one shot and the preview that's in Geiger, which is also the preview PDF on Lunar Distribution, remind me a whole lot of Tales from the Crypt. And that's a show I grew up watching.
I wonder if it'll have like a sort of dark, like Goosebumps type of story to it, or.
I'll have to go back and find some episodes of Tales from the Crypt,
Hmm.
more than just the movies that came out, which the first one is called Demon Knight. Demon Knight is really good. Any other movie they released is a waste of your time. But yeah, that's what the previews remind me of. And they do a lot of, throwing in ads that I would have seen growing up,
Hmm.
which is kind of cool. So, obviously you can't you can't order this stuff. But it is a cool little contribution
Hmm.
to the way that one's done. So I've been looking forward to Hyde Street since it was announced, and seeing all of the preview stuff has just added to that. So Ghost Machine is just rocking it right now.
I'm just kind of curious, like, if Redcoat or Geiger and Rook will be put on hold every once in a while. If they'll do like 6 issues, Height Streak, then it goes back to Redcoat 6 issues, Rook, another story arc.
I don't think so, and I really hope not. I haven't read Redcoat yet. I'm working on Junkyard Joe right now. Once I'm through those 6 issues, then I will be moving into Geiger Volume 2. That's when I'll hit up Redcoat. I just want to
Hmm.
get through those to get to it. Yeah, we're going to talk about Ghost Machine a little bit later on in this episode
Hmm.
once we do our reviews of the week. When we get to the surprise of the week, that was my surprise of the week. So we'll discuss that when we get to that point. And it is definitely something we both will be ready to discuss.
Hmm.
Speaking of, our first topic for tonight, and we have recorded on this before, but y'all didn't get to hear it. So, DC announced, and I know this is kind of old news now, but they announced that they are doing QR codes.
Hmm.
Now, we did get the reminder of what a horrible job Marvel has done with the QR codes with Wolverine #1. That's yet another incomplete. At least the covers are good. I haven't read it yet. I
I
know
haven't
I know
either.
you read it.
I
What?
haven't.
Oh, you haven't. You
No.
just looked through it.
I was flipping through it to see what the art looked like, and then I got to the end, so a QR code. flip through it again, so the QR again, and then it registered to me. Oh yeah, Marvel.
Yes, Marvel incomplete book. Um, yeah,
You
so
wanna?
I haven't even looked at it yet. I picked up books on Friday. I've gotten them into Mylar, got them scanned in. I have them in short boxes right now. Um, I've done a little bit of catching up with this week's pull,
Mhm.
along with other stuff that I've picked up. So
Yeah.
I'll get there. But
Eventually.
eventually, it really seems like DC has decided they're going to use QR codes, and I think they're doing it the right way. They're using the QR codes as an incentive.
Mm-hmm.
So, depending on how many issues you are getting from DC that week, you can
It's
get,
4.
but you can get a membership card for buying 4 different DC titles weekly starting in October. These cards feature QR codes that have the behind the scenes content, and it's going to be interesting because I feel like this is what the QR code should have been.
Mm-hmm.
It's additional content. It's like, okay, you get this book, you like this book, here's some, sketches that we've done, concepts, interviews with the creative team, previews of what is coming up next.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like DC jumped on the bandwagon with Marvel, but
Mm-hmm.
they are doing a much better job with it than Marvel did.
Like most things, DC does it better.
I'm not going to say that, but I will say in this case,
Mm-hmm.
Marvel decided they wanted to use the QR code. I think they used it in a very horrible way. And DC looked at it and said, oh, yeah, you can do that? Yeah, I can do a better job. So I'm kind of excited to see. I know at least a couple of the weeks I'll be getting 4 titles from DC. So,
I wrote them. Um,
and I think they're doing one for the DC All In one shot as well. That if you have that, if you get that, you get a particular card. Yeah, this would be good. And they're also doing some incentives for the shop owners as well. That when they hit certain thresholds, they're able to order additional copies of stuff for like $1 an issue. So that will be very good for John,
mm-hmm.
based on the responses. And I know he posted that he had read Absolute Batman #1
Yeah,
and is stoked about it.
just singing its praises.
Yes, and that was after we had talked about the Absolute universe and whether DC was making a mistake or not, or whether
Mm-hmm.
it was going to be good. And we had the whole discussion. We were very honest with each other on our opinions. He has had the opportunity to read Absolute Batman #1,
Mm-hmm.
and it's completely changed how he is viewing it.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm kind of excited for
He did
it.
another post, or he did the first post was talking about, hey, get sub to it or at least pull it.
Hmm.
And then he did another post that's like, this is your last chance. He didn't do it for, I think, The Moon is Following, so he didn't do it for Hyde Street.
I haven't seen him do it on anything. This is very new. I've seen him hype stuff up because of who the creative team was. I've seen him hype stuff up because he got to see
Mm-hmm.
the preview stuff. Um,
But there is also the possibility that it is a DC book, so and it will naturally sell better.
I mean, we'll see, right?
Uh,
Right now, Marvel is destroying DC in sales.
but I guess we'll see when like Wonder Woman Superman come out. If he does the same thing.
Yeah, I'd be interested. He does know my trepidations about Superman, the absolute Superman. He does share some of those trepidations,
Mm-hmm.
so I will be interested to see. But 7 years, and his recommendations have never steered us wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go with it. And yeah, I'm kind of excited for it now because I want to know what what got John all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of tied up in it. But
Even on Twitter, people who were able to read it early have been talking about how great it is. It's
I I'm interested. So
I don't think I've seen a comic book single issue get this much praise in a while.
it has been a while. We're going to talk about one a little bit later on, but it's getting praise from minor circles and really needs to be getting it from more. So we're gonna move on from one of the big two into the indies.
Mhm.
And what the hell is going on with IDW? They have laid off a lot of people over the past couple of years. They can't seem to find themselves. They've
Mhm.
changed editors a couple of times. I know they have one editor in chief. However, she is not over TMNT. So they've been treating TMNT in a different way than they've treated every other book that they've had, and this is a little concerning.
Mhm.
I know they announced that the new CEO wants a cap of $200 per page on every issue. That it does include TMNT, which
That's
is
what he wants doesn't mean it'll happen.
mm,
Enough pushback from employees.
I don't know. I don't know because their whole thing is, let's sell them on the idea. Oh, you want to write TMNT? Okay, well, you're going to write it for the love of writing TMNT.
Mhm.
They did a really bad deal getting TMNT, getting that license cost them way more than it should have. But it's kind of scary because
Mhm.
based off of issue one, I picked up issue two. I haven't read it yet. I
Mhm.
will fix that tonight. I'm enjoying it, and I'm kind of scared for that to be handed off to somebody else from Jason Aaron. How is IDW going to recover
I
from
think
the issues they're having right now?
the team. I think the main series is fine. Aaron will probably stay on it for a couple more months at least. Because he's also writing Absolute Superman. I think he's writing another thing. So the cap at 200 isn't going to affect him that much. It's Nightwatcher and Mutant Nation that are the ones that are
Well,
most likely going to be.
and I did pose that question to Wes from Thinking Critical, and he replied with 6 months at most.
Was this on Twitter?
No, this is on Patreon.
Okay.
So, for those of you who aren't, somehow you found us and not Thinking Critical, uh, whether you go to Patreon or not, he does post portions of his recordings on YouTube. So that's how I found him. Um, I do the Patreon. I think it's absolutely worth it.
Hmm.
I love the information that comes out from Wes. I listen to Wes and Aaron uh, talk a lot, and they have some really good views on the comic industry
Hmm.
from a fan perspective and from somebody who's in the comic industry.
Hmm.
I so I highly recommend it. But we were talking, how do they fix this? They've lost a lot of their licenses. The rumor is they're about to lose My Little Pony. Now, granted, that's a very niche audience, but
Niche for us, but it's.
no, I think it's a niche audience anyway, right? Well, a lot of the stuff we're into is a niche
Mhm.
audience, right? We just happen to be that niche audience, but it's not like TMNT. I think TMNT has much broader appeal, but it's still a big license. And even though I am not a Star Trek fan,
Hmm.
um, I've heard from people who are
Hmm.
that their line of Star Trek books right now are dirt.
I am curious to see if IDW does end up losing Team T license. Do you think it's because they couldn't pay, or because Paramount or Nickelodeon decide Boom or Image or Dark Horse is a better fit?
But I thought they already paid for it. I
That's
thought
for another couple of
I
years.
I
That's
I mean I thought they'd already the contract is signed regardless.
yeah, but I'm just saying that after that's up,
Um,
will Paramount or Nickelodeon want to renew that when they're seeing Transformers
no, I think they'll
sell?
they'll they'll look at the sales data, right? They'll see how well it sold through the life of
Hmm.
that series. And if it comes down to at the end of that series, the
Hmm.
sales are in the dumpster,
Hmm.
um, then yeah, I think that they will because that's their IP, right?
Hmm.
They want it to succeed. And TMNT more than Marvel,
Hmm.
right? Like Marvel has created this cinematic universe that really you have three categories. You have
Hmm.
the people who go to the movies, don't read the comics. People who
Hmm.
read the comics and go to the movies. People who read the comics have nothing to do with the movies. Um, TMNT is a direct feed, right? Like you get into the cartoon from the comics, you get into the movies from the cartoon. So there's a direct feed into the movies from the comics. If the sales of comics are down, then that means that their ticket sales for the next movie are going to be down. Their viewing audience for the next cartoon will be down. So they have a little bit more of a dog in the fight on how well the comic does. So yeah, I think if the sales for IDW are down, I think you're going to see it go to Dark Horse or Image.
I wouldn't be shocked if Skybound would try and fight for that, because they might be like, well, we do what IDW did in Transformers Team and T crossover, which I'm shocked it hasn't happened yet.
I mean, they've crossed over just about anybody else.
Why Naruto got one and not the Transformers first?
Well, that does kind of make sense, but I'm worried for IDW. Over the years, IDW has put out some really good books, and they've had a lot of really good licenses. I would like to see IDW remain, but looking at it, it's hard to see a way that they can, because right now, really, TMNT is what's carrying them. And if you oversaturate the market, like you have right now, we have TMNT, we have Night Watcher, we have Mutant Nation, right? Plus the Saturday morning and whatever crossovers they're throwing out there.
And they're doing Last Ronin, like the sequel, but they could be.
Yeah, Last Ronin 2 is going on now. I didn't jump on that one. I did do Last Ronin, which is a very well regarded series, but that was Eastman, right? So you kind of have to look at it and go, well, I can't really give IDW credit for that because that was Eastman's brainchild.
It was Eastman and Laird.
Yeah.
I think Laird came up with the idea.
Right, but I mean, it was their brainchild, and
I don't know how much IDW has done in the past, but they've always been kind of just the license company. They've had a couple of their original stuff, but overall,
right. Overall, they do a lot with licenses, and it's not a bad thing. It's just, they've lost a lot of those licenses.
they're just not doing anything with them. They had Ghostbusters a little bit ago. I think they had Back to the Future.
Yeah. So I would be interested to see what they do moving forward, but at the same time, it's now a business consideration, right? How do they salvage the business from the bad business decisions that have been made in the recent past? So, yeah, more bad news just keeps coming out of IDW. We will see how it moves forward and if they can right that ship. But that that definitely feeds into the next topic we had, which was indies versus the big two. IDW is in a lot of trouble right now, and they need to right the ship. Image, on the other hand, is absolutely killing it. Um, they have a lot of titles out there right now that are really good. Even though the titles that have spawned out of Spawn are not selling quite as well as Spawn is.
That's partly because they're now starting to overinflate the market with.
Right. There's now a bunch of titles out there. Misery just ended. That was a 4-issue mini.
There's a book starting in October called Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger.
Yeah, Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger is about to start.
I don't know if that's a mini, but if it is an ongoing, if that's going alongside with.
I don't think it's an ongoing, but I'd have to look back into it. Violator Origins is the next one to come out.
Which I brought up to you is strangely not written by McFarlane.
Yes. And then they do the fun thing. Spawn Kills Every Spawn. Is the one that's going on right now, which is just a fun book. Right? And so overall, the Image imprinted titles, I think, are doing very well. Now, Ghost Machine, which is produced by Image, is just killing it. I really can't think of a bad title that is on that label right
and
now.
they're selling pretty well because Rook Exodus #5 got a second printing out.
Yes. Yep. It's sold out, has a second printing. Um, but so and they're making the sales list,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you get TMT on there, but you're also getting some of the Ghost Machine titles
Mm-hmm.
that are creeping on that top 50 list, that are outselling some established characters.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of number ones,
Mm-hmm.
Marvel and DC really should start being concerned.
Mm-hmm.
The previous recording we did of this episode, I talked about because we had picked up a bunch of indie titles and a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
the big two titles, and getting them scanned in and getting them moved into Mylar, there's such a difference in the quality of the book just by
Mm-hmm.
feel, right? And then you look at it and you go, well, this one is a lot heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
For the same prices, or
for
even
$2
cheaper.
less. For $2 less, I'm getting what is a better product.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you look at the artwork and you look at the storyline. Okay, I'm getting a better product for $2 cheaper
Mm-hmm.
per issue than what I'm getting out of the big two. Now, I've been really enjoying Venomore. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to cut on the big two.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just putting it in a perspective, right?
I think the best, like when we look at titles, because after Venomore, probably starting January, December, I'm going to pull together my pull list because that's when a bunch of miniseries will start ending, and mine will significantly decrease. But that's where I want to look at and go, what do I want to drop, or what am I find I'm just getting a trade?
Right. Like, do I want to pick this up now or do I want to wait till it's in a trade and pick it
Mm-hmm.
up? Do I want to um, just go away from it? Because the big thing with it and the way that I rate comics, the way I view comics,
Mm-hmm.
did I enjoy it? Am I looking forward to the next issue? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the big things that are going on,
Mm-hmm.
you have absolute power. Since Origin, I'm not excited about that again. I am going to sit down and get back into it, but Origins really beat me over the head, and that followed up with the Gotham City Sirens, which almost turned me off to DC completely. That was the worst little mini that I have ever gotten.
I feel like you're gonna read Goth when you get caught up to Batman. You're gonna get to Gotham War, finish it, look to me, and go, well, "What the hell is that?"
I probably will.
Or you're just gonna say me The Simpsons.
I mean, I've gotten a lot of the Tom King run of Batman
Mm-hmm.
now. I'm trying to put together the reading order for um, Rebirth and go start with that and just run straight through it,
Mm-hmm.
straight through the end of Absolute Power. I know I'm reading it a little bit out of order here and there, but I'm trying to stay up on it.
Yeah.
Venom War is the other event that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
I am having a good time with that event. That was different, right? Like I'm enjoying it because I feel like there's a story there that they have actually placed out in a coherent manner.
Granted, it is character focus. It was Venom building up to it, whereas Absolute Power is more like the universe thing of you kind of if you wanted to read Venom more and you wanted to understand, you probably only had to read Venom starting with issue 1.
Right, but I mean, we jumped into it not having read Venom in a while,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't feel like I'm completely lost. I feel like I can enjoy this event the way that it's presented, right?
Confused in a little
Now,
couple of places.
I will say with Absolute Power, the Task Force 7 issues have been absolutely wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes that event for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know you didn't do it, and I really want you to go back and read them, uh, because I feel like that has made the event for me. It's taking it from the side of the Amazos,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's been really good. But then you get outside of those. Those are the big things going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine Revenge. which I know there are people that have problems with it. It's not continuity. I really enjoyed issue 1. I thought it was fun. It was fun. I didn't care that it was pulled from like 4 different continuities
Mm-hmm.
because it lies outside of that. The other things from DC that I'm really enjoying right now
Mm-hmm.
are Elseworld titles. You have the Dark Knights of Steel All Winter, which
Mm-hmm.
has been a really good story. The artwork has been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and World War V
Mm-hmm.
has been really good. I really have enjoyed that one. So it's not that the big two aren't putting out good titles, fun books,
Mm-hmm.
that it's just right now, Absolute Power is not that for me.
Yeah.
Um, whereas Venom War is more that for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're comparing a main line to a main line,
Yeah.
right? Um,
I think my biggest problem with Absolute Power right now is I don't think the event really kicked off till issue 2.
mhm.
And I think you could have just made issue 1 $6 or $7 and had the majority of the story of issue 2 and issue 1.
They did that with Metal. That's kind of the issues right now with the main
Mhm.
lines and their events, which both have these major events going on right now. But their Elseworld stuff, their non-canonical stuff is really good, I think,
Mhm.
from both of them. However, and again, this is my opinion,
Mhm.
um, the indies, I feel, are really killing it.
Mhm.
I find the weeks that we look at stuff and we go, man, what am I anticipating? Those are big two heavy weeks. Part of that is our fault because we're not caught up on all the series right now.
Mhm.
But part of that is that when we're getting several indies books in a week, it's hard to choose, right? Like you look at it and you go, oh man, there's a new Geiger book, right? There's a new Transformers book. You're like, I just feel that the indies are putting out stories right now that we're excited for,
Mhm.
and that goes beyond those series. But I'm just saying, like, we get excited about those things,
Mhm.
and at what point do we look at the big two and go, I am just not excited for this character anymore,
Mhm.
not excited for this character anymore, and we decide to wait for the trades.
Because of 7 issues of Wonder Woman just finishing up that Sovereign arc, I'm I'm half tempted to just wait till issue 20, decide if I'm going to drop it or if issue 14 isn't special.
And I'm starting with the Trinity on the absolute side and the mainline side once All In starts.
Because Superman is. I'm interested to see what they do. I didn't really care for House of Brainiac. I thought it was just a little weird.
My problem with Dawn of DC,
Mm-hmm.
that era, is that it was event, couple issues, event, couple issues, event. And it made it to where for us,
Mm-hmm.
right? For the fans reading it, it was like, man, do I really want to be in this event or not? Right? I skipped a bunch of events because I was like, I can read them on DC Infinite. I thought it was too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fair to the creative teams because now how do you get a story arc in there? Like you're going to write a 2 or 3 issue story arc, and then that third issue not
Mm-hmm.
only has to conclude your story arc, but it has to set up into some event that somebody else came up with.
But I mean, also just with Wonder Woman the Sovereign arc, I just don't think. I don't think he planned it out as well as he thought he did. Because when you look at the whole issues, it's not that bad. It's a 15 issue arc. My problem with it is you have the first arc, like the first 6 issues. I think issue 3 or 4 has nothing to do with the story in general.
I mean, it's talking.
I don't know if you know the story. The kid who collected Spider-Man. This is seeming a little rude, but to short it up, Spider-Man goes to I think a kid who's like terminal cancer, something like that. He basically is doing much stuff to make this kid happy. And issue 3 or 4 of Wonder Woman's similar to that. So this Make a Wish kid, Wonder Woman goes see him. They go to Themyscira, they kind of mess around kind of do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes back into the main arc for a couple of issues. Superman and Wonder Woman go to find a gift for Batman.
I remember you telling me about that issue.
Then they go back to the Sovereign arc again, for like 3 issues. Absolute Power. Now we're back.
Yeah, and I mean, it's Tom King, right? I'm not the biggest Tom King fan. I don't hate the guy.
But just comparing it to his Batman, you had I Am Gotham. It's a
Yes,
self-contained story. Then you had Night of the Monsterman, which is only 2 issues. Then you had I Am Suicide.
yes.
Then I Am Bane. I think the end of that story arc led into a crossover with Swamp Thing. And I think 1 issue with Flash.
Okay.
And it was 2 issues with Flash, and I think a Swamp Thing issue. Then you had the marriage issue, or when he proposed. Then Wars of Jokes and Riddles.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
and I mean, like I said, I don't dislike Tom King.
mm-hmm,
But I think he has these grand ideas,
mm-hmm,
but he doesn't understand people
mm-hmm.
enough to grasp how to lay these ideas out.
I don't think you
Right?
understand comics enough.
Um, I'm not even going to say that. Look at the conversations that he writes. He
Mm-hmm,
doesn't understand how people interact with each other, and he has these grand ideas.
mm-hmm,
He just doesn't know how to present them.
mm-hmm,
And that's really the problem. I hope he gets it figured out. I really hope that DC and Marvel understand
mm-hmm.
the IPs that they have and get people in the position that have a greater love for the character
I'm
than they
just.
do for themselves.
What would be funny to me, I don't think it'll happen because King has some dirt on some DC executive.
He's got to.
But if Absolute Wonder Woman sells better and gets better reviews, will that make DC look at the mainline book and either tell King something or just sort of kick him off?
No, I don't think it will. And the reason I don't think it will is because they have the Elseworlds titles.
Mm-hmm.
And the Absolute Universe is really Elseworlds titles,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a different take on these characters. So if they sell well, then they're going to look at it and go, well, they didn't have the constraints that Tom King has on Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think you can judge it off of the sales of the first 3 issues.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's like issue 4.
yeah, I would be interested in seeing, and I'm going to look it up,
Mm-hmm.
what the sales are between issue 3
Mm-hmm.
and issue 5. Because I think a lot of people are going to do what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
which is, hey, I'm going to give it a 3-issue test.
Mm-hmm.
If issue 3, I'm not interested in reading this story anymore,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to drop it. So I would be interested in seeing
Mm-hmm.
what the differences between issue 3 and issue 5 are, and whether they dip a large amount or they
Mm-hmm.
dip just a little bit. Because sales of number 1 are going to be astronomical.
Well, they're always going to be. It's a
Well,
new number 1.
this is going to be bigger because it's a first appearance of these characters.
The first, like, 15 or 20 issues, assuming all the titles last that long, are all at least going to get second or third printings, maybe, because it'll be first appearance of, I don't know, Lois Lane in the Absolute titles.
Oh, right, but you're looking at they're separating Batman from Absolute Batman. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the first appearance of Absolute Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you look at it and Alfred comes in,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be a first appearance of Alfred as this character.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a minor introduction first appearance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So issue 5, first appearance of the Penguin in the Absolute Universe, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a minor introduction. This
Mm-hmm.
is actually being considered a completely separate character. So number 1s for all of the Absolute Universe are going to be through the roof. How does that hold up when you get into issue 5, 6, 7?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, how many people are going to stick with it if it's not a good book through the first 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I expect issue 2 to sell less
Mm-hmm.
because you've had your big introduction.
Yeah.
Um, but where is it going to level out around that issue 5, issue 6?
Mm-hmm.
And how do they see it moving forward? So this is where it's going to be interesting
Mm-hmm.
to see the sales run through. So yeah, around the end of the year
Mm-hmm.
into the beginning of 2025, I think is going to be very telling for DC and how this new era
Mm-hmm.
is going to be because it's a soft reboot for the main titles.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see how they do moving forward
Mm-hmm.
and exactly how that's going to roll out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's get to the reviews for this week. Mine is Ain't No Grave number 5. I have been waiting on this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Scotty Young, Jorge Corona book. Big fan of when they work together.
Mm-hmm.
The story is very deep.
Mm-hmm.
Through all 5 issues, the story is very deep.
Mm-hmm.
I've really enjoyed this series.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad it was only 5 books, but at the same time, it's like I don't think it could have been stretched longer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a lot in this mini, and book 5 definitely carried that on.
Mm-hmm.
The artwork has been absolutely wonderful in these books. It's a very dark aesthetic with the
Mm-hmm.
artwork, um, but the story, the artwork worked really well through all 5 issues.
Mm-hmm.
Issue 5 was no different. I got to the end of it and I was just kind of like, wait, what? But it was a very good series
Mm-hmm.
overall. It is definitely up there for me
Mm-hmm.
for the series of the year, comics of the year. So if you haven't read it, I highly recommend that you go and pick this up. The trade comes out in November, I think.
Yeah, I think it was pushed back to December.
Okay.
I think 17th.
So if you haven't read it,
Mm-hmm.
December, go and pick up the trade and read it. Read it through. Issue 4 is kind of the silent issue. There's really like 2 words in the entire
Mm-hmm.
issue, but the artwork is really good. That's the one I read twice.
So you're
Um,
just like, what the hell
yeah,
happened?
well, it wasn't a what the hell. It was just kind of a, man, this is there's
Oh
a
no, November
November. Okay,
12th. Okay,
November 12th.
Amazon lied to me.
There you go. Yeah, this is a really good series. We actually have issue number 1, the Hall of Justice exclusive cover signed by Jorge and Morgan Beam. Still waiting on Scotty Young to make his appearance at the Hall.
We bug him enough.
So what?
So we bug him enough.
Yeah, if we bug him enough, he might do it. Me and my paycheck are definitely ready. Um, but it's it's Scotty Young, Jorge Corona. Anytime they get together, I'm in. I don't care what it is. They could do a comic adaptation of Mary Poppins, and I'm there. So
They do the My Little Ponies here.
man, if those two were on My Little Pony, I'm there.
John
Yeah,
might look at you strangely and
you know what? I don't care. They have put out such good stories over the years. Such good comics. Middle West. If you haven't read that, definitely go out and get that. I have so much Middle West. It's not funny.
I'm kind of hoping they do another ongoing soon because
Yeah,
they did the Me You Love in the Dark, which was a mini series.
yeah. I don't know if you don't read a lot of Scotty Young.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty Young himself, regardless of who he's working with,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't ever do really long ongoings. I hate Fairyland.
Mm-hmm.
Each volume is like 20 issues. In fact, volume 2 stopped at 15, and they're putting out the end game to it,
Mm-hmm.
and this is going to end at issue 20. So volume 1 is 20 issues,
Mm-hmm.
volume 2 is 20 issues. He just doesn't do like 50,
I mean,
70 issue ongoings.
I wouldn't be shocked if it's more of a sales thing.
I think he says what he has to say. And this is case in point. I mean, it's a 5 issue mini.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very deep story. There's a lot within these 5 issues, uh, but it is such a good series. I feel like this series epitomizes why I like Scotty Young and Jorge Corona,
Mm-hmm.
and I just can't say enough good things about this series.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want you to finish reading it. I know you read issue 1.
Waiting for the trade.
Hey, the other 4 are up there. Just go pull them out. Uh, but yeah, this is a really good series. I'd be interested in seeing what you have to
Mm-hmm.
say about it, and I look forward to what they're going to do next. And these are the creative team that I
Mm-hmm.
will follow no matter what they do. Whether I'm like, oh man, I'm really interested in this or not. I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
even know what the concept is. If it's Scotty Young and Jorge Corona is the creative team, I'm in.
My review of the week is another Jorge Corona drawn book.
It is
What a coincidence.
Transformers number 12.
Um, so I was bad this week. I only read 2 out of my pool.
We grabbed, well, I grabbed our poll on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Normally Saturdays we spend the morning kind of going through what we're going to do for the episode,
Mm-hmm.
reading comics, talking comics. Uh, if the Clemson game is on, I watch that. This week
Mm-hmm.
the Carolina game was on. Clemson was a bye. We watched that one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but normally, yeah, Saturdays are kind of our comic days,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and you had to go to work early. It's a little unexpected. Our weekend's been a little off. Uh, so yeah, catching up and reading pools
Mm-hmm.
this week for both of us has been a little bit off. I've been
Mm-hmm.
messing with the sprinklers. I still got to finish that up today. So that's what I'm doing while you're at work.
um, but no, I mean Transformers has been a consistently great series. I think with Alita and Optimus, when you read it, you might go with a how you viewed Optimus before would probably change. I saw a post that's like they're both selfless and selfish in their own ways because of what they want and how. If you portray Optimus as a he can do no wrong, then you portray him as wrong.
Well, I think it makes them more human, and I think that's why when I read the first issue,
Mm-hmm.
I was sold on this series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it makes them more human. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't have somebody that is entirely 100% selfish.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have somebody that's 100% selfless.
Mm-hmm.
We want that, and we want that especially in our stories. You know, that specific line between the good and the evil.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this series,
Mm-hmm.
having read one,
Mm-hmm.
having talked to you about the other 11, um, it seems like they're portrayed in a more human light.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that.
But no, and I mean Shockwave has just been a really scary villain, and how the end of the issue is what Optimus does is probably gonna leave you kind of shocked.
And I did kind of, flip through this
Mm-hmm.
one. I did get this one. I was expecting to start on 13, but I got 12.
That's the Starscream issue.
I'm not upset about that. But I flipped through it, and the artwork is still amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I love the artwork on this one, and how it comes across. I know it's Jorge.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm
you're totally not biased at all.
not biased at all.
And I know we weren't going to talk about it. I just want to bring it up.
Okay.
But this actually does mark the halfway point in Dana Warren Johnson's run.
It does. That's very sad news.
Mm-hmm.
I take it as sad news on twofold,
Mm-hmm.
right? For me, selfishly,
Mm-hmm.
I thought what he wrote
Mm-hmm.
is really good, right? Again, one issue, 11 issues talking with you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think what he's doing with this story is absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It has drawn me in for the first time on a Transformers comic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and I loved Transformers growing up.
Mm-hmm.
First time that I've actually been into the comic book side of the house. Um, so it's sad for me in that perspective,
Mm-hmm.
right? As a father,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen how much you've enjoyed this series.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's sad for me on that aspect because it's like, man, is the next guy gonna be are you going to love
Mm-hmm.
the books as much with the next guy writing,
Mm-hmm.
or are you not? And if you don't, then that hurts me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so that's kind of the two sides of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
as a fan myself,
Mm-hmm.
I love what he's doing. And so I'm sad that he's leaving
Mm-hmm.
for me. As a father,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad that he's leaving because it's great to see you
Mm-hmm.
get excited about stuff.
Um, you're probably tired of hearing this, but I've also theorized this for a while since Skybound, which is Image. But they're launching the G.I. Joe series like a month, 2 months, November. And I've always said I think next year they're going to do the crossover with Return to Megatron, probably the official Rise of Cobra.
Well, and they've been talking about the Energon universe for a
Mm-hmm.
while, being Transformers G.I.
Mm-hmm.
Joe. That's going to be the Energon universe.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So that's been my theory for a while, and I said this last time we recorded it. I think I did at least. I wouldn't be shocked if issue 24 was the end of the first year or two of the Energon universe. That was all the setup.
right.
That's getting the Autobots where they are. That's setting up the villains, Decepticons. Everybody is on Earth. And then starting with issue 25,
Mm-hmm.
like issue 12 or something for G.I. Joe. I can't do that math in my head.
Right.
But that will be like setting up to the next era of the Energon universe.
And I think it will be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Again, as an 80s kid, I think that having Transformers and G.I. Joe
Mm-hmm.
merged into the same universe would be really cool for me.
I wouldn't be shocked they're also doing that because the next live action Transformers movie will be a crossover with G.I. Joe.
And again, that will be awesome. We will definitely be going to the theater for that one. Every now and then we go. I'm very picky because theaters are expensive. But we'll see how that moves forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in seeing how that moves forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to be able to share in this whole journey with you,
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So surprise of the week, Jay said he did not really have one. Mine probably shouldn't be a surprise. I've heard podcasts from several places about how good this series is.
And me.
I heard from you how good this series is.
And you didn't believe me.
It's not that I didn't believe you. I just hadn't sat down and read it. I sat down this morning. I read issue 1 through 5, and the only thought I had at the end of issue 5 was, "Holy
Mm-hmm.
crap! I'm ready for it to be October." Which every year I'm ready for it to be October. But in this case, I'm ready for it to be October because I want issue 6.
September's a filler month.
Yeah, well, no, it gave us issue 5. Rook Exodus. This is an absolutely amazing series. When I picked them up, because I picked up issue 1 through 5 of Rook
Mm-hmm.
Exodus and Redcoat at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, uh, Logan had said Rook Exodus is the best of the Ghost Machine offerings.
Mm-hmm.
I have to agree with him. This series, just the highs and the lows, it's a very wordy series.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has to be.
Yeah.
And you get so connected to the characters, which is
Mm-hmm.
what made me love Geiger so much, which is really what's making me love Junkyard Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Ghost Machine is nailing it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just I got into it through Geiger.
Mm-hmm.
I got you into it through Geiger. Ghost Machine has just been one of those where we read a series and it's like
Mm-hmm.
you got to check this out, and we've kind of been pushing each other down this road
Uh,
of Ghost Machine and all their offerings. This definitely did not disappoint.
mm-hmm.
I think what everybody has said about it is absolutely true. Um, the characters in the book, you get to know them, you get to love them. You see, and I know there's kind of some spoilers in here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't read it, but you're interested in reading it, skip ahead.
Either find the first 5-6 issues. The trade doesn't come out till I think April.
Yeah. Um, yeah, just skip ahead because I'm just gonna throw this out there. Issue issue 5, you learn exactly why he chose the
Mm-hmm.
crows, why he doesn't like the crows.
Mm-hmm.
Learns that the reason he doesn't like the crows is really him,
Mm-hmm.
not the crows.
Mm-hmm.
He had projected his
Yeah.
shortcomings onto the crows
Mm-hmm.
and starts to actually connect with them at the end of
Mm-hmm.
issue 5. Absolutely wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to issue 6. Things are getting crazy. This was the surprise of the week for me,
Mm-hmm.
just simply because anytime I get told something is this great, this amazing, it's always a
Mm-hmm.
letdown. This absolutely was not. I finished issue 5. I
Mm-hmm.
walked into the game room. It was like, Jay, I'm ready for it to be October. Um, yeah, just highly, highly
Yeah, it
recommended.
is. I had told you it was like the first book that just made me hyped for the next one. It's like you kick his ass.
Yeah, yeah. It you care about the characters, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of the big thing in
They made
comics.
Pumbaa like.
Man, I love Pumbaa.
How can you not like Pumbaa?
Pumbaa is great, and the fact that they had him talking in issue 5,
Mm-hmm.
um, and Rook was just like, "But pigs can't talk." Well, I'm not a pig. I'm a boar. Um, yeah, it was good. It gets you
Mm-hmm.
hyped, and so yeah, if you are not reading Rook Exodus, what is
Mm-hmm.
wrong with you? Go out, find the issues that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
get them. Whatever you have to do to be able to read them,
Mm-hmm.
comicsology, whatever. Go out and read this book. This is right now. This is top of my list for series of the year.
I think Transformers are still above, but it might be my favorite new ongoing.
Transformers will have to do a lot to overtake this. Um, Geiger was,
Mm-hmm.
even as much as I love Ain't No Grave, uh, it really was Geiger, Ain't
Mm-hmm.
No Grave, slimmest of margins. Rook Exodus is now top.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because there's that whole connection with these characters,
Mm-hmm.
there's the whole understanding what he's going through and seeing the evolution of this character. Like, Direwolf knows who she is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Good or bad, uh, shortcomings, whatever. She knows who she is. Rook does not know until you get to the end of episode or issue 5.
So do you want to be disappointed? Rook Exodus doesn't come out till October 23rd.
But I mean, that is going to give us something to really look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my surprise of the week.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so going into what's anticipated for the week, and this next week is actually pretty hefty. There's a lot of good books coming out this next week.
Mm-hmm.
Elseworlds titles are coming out this next week, and so it made
Yeah, a
me
lot of Venomore.
kind of have to sit and think, which is awesome
Mm-hmm.
when you're spending money. That you have to kind of sit and choose. But I went with Babs number 2. Babs number 1 is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I had so much fun reading that book. And it's not like Rook or Geiger where you have this connection to the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have a connection to any of the characters in this book. It's just fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Mel Brooks film put into a comic book. So yes, I'm looking forward to issue 2 just because I want to see what insanity unfolds and where the craziness goes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you had Paranoid Gardens #3.
Yeah. Um, it's just kind of been a weird series. I had told you I had finished issue 2, and then when I comic used to read the reviews, and one of the reviews I saw was, I understood nothing. I loved it.
I remember you saying that, and I remember that you love this series,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of got you more confused than anything else.
Yeah,
It's not
it's
laid out in any particular fashion.
there's this like Superman clone because it's this. I want to say I don't remember what it is, but it's a care center,
Okay.
and this the Superman clone came in and he knows the main character. She doesn't recognize him. There's a character who's in this like monkey cult. It's just been a very weird series. It's done by Gerard Way, who's done Umbrella Academy. He also did Doom Patrol series.
Okay.
So I would not be shocked if his Doom Patrol series is just as confusing.
It's really good
hmm
to see you enjoy something like this. Um,
I picked it out. I just kind of picked it up as a whim because on the FOC I saw, it was done by Gerard Way, and I was just curious.
yeah, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That carries over into what a lot
hmm
of the discussions we have are, which is that it's not so much character focused within the comic industry
hmm
anymore for the fans. It's now starting to become the creative teams. Like, who do you follow? You know,
hmm
like I said, Scotty Young, Jorge Corona. When they
Anything.
collaborate, I don't care what it is. I'm there.
I think just kind of have too much to say because I was looking at it. The Moon is Following is #1. That's a Daniel Warren Johnson book.
Okay.
And it's this like okay, so these parents are trying to find their daughter who was taken by something called the Cascade, and it's this evil force. I just kind of picked it out of the wind because I saw Warren Johnson's name. Was like anything he's doing, I'm going to be slightly interested.
Right. And that's, I think that's where comics are moving to
hmm
as far as the fans are concerned.
hmm
But, that's just the way things are going.
hmm
Um, again, I have my concerns for the comic industry
hmm
and what they're doing and how they're moving. Um, but I just want to see you
hmm
enjoy the stuff that you get. Right.
hmm
So I'm excited that you have found more series that you're looking at and
hmm
going, hey, this guy's writing it. I want to read it. I'm kind of again, that's how I am with Scotty Young. Um, when he writes something, I have a tendency to go and sub to that series
hmm
because I like what he does. Now with Ghost Machine, I really don't think there's much that Jeff Johns is going to do that I'm not going to be like, man, I've got to at least check out
hmm
one issue. Um,
The first Ghost is, I think, going to start soon-ish.
I
It says on the Ghost Machine one shot 2024 at the end of it.
yeah, I don't put a whole lot of stock in that.
hmm
Um, because I feel like the creators at Ghost Machine, not just Johns, but
hmm
the creators as a whole at Ghost Machine
hmm
have a lot of different ideas. I'm excited to see this stuff come out. Um,
Comic Geek says community pick of the week. Transformers is winning.
we're looking forward to October for Hyde Street to come out.
hmm
We will then sit down and do our Ghost Machine special, which I'm kind of excited for.
Should probably start looking up horror books that we can read.
I'm not even looking up horror books. I am very happy with what Hyde Street looks to be. There's lots of different offerings out there.
hmm
Um, I know there's a lot of Kickstarters that go on.
hmm
I'm kind of keeping an eye out amongst the Kneel Before Doomface, which is what Aaron Sparrow is doing now. That looks very interesting. So I'm definitely going to jump on that Kickstarter. Hopefully help get that released out. And if so, then
There's the
you know
Sky.
I'll definitely be reviewing that one. The artwork, I'll have to share some of that with you because it looks really good, but it looks very Masters of the Universe
Okay.
set in New York City. It's intriguing. I definitely want to see where they go with that. And these are guys who, artist and writer, care about the character, which is kind of a big thing with me. I feel that with Ghost Machine, that the reason those books are so fun and we enjoy them so much is that, Johns and Frank care about the character.
Or Fabik or Reyes. I don't remember who else is. I think it's just those three.
Yeah, but I think that they care about the characters, and it shows in how they present them and how they write them. So I'm not a doom and gloom on the comic industry type of person. I think that DC and Marvel need to come around and write themselves. I am hopeful.
I think they need to loosen up on their restrictions.
I think to a point, right?
Obviously to a point, because then you get stuff like with King is doing with Wonder Woman right now, where
I still believe that what they should do is whenever they get a new creative team, they start with a number one. They need to have an issue 0 that lays out the rules, right?
I think whenever they bring in a creative team, the editor in chief should just hand them the character Bible.
No, but I mean, they should look at it and go, here's a number one, here's an era, right? Like when DC did Rebirth, they released the Rebirth one shot.
So kind of like what Ghost Machine did with the Ghost Machine.
Right, but like DC did with the Rebirth one shot, it kind of laid out what that era was. And I think that's what needs to be done, even character by character, right? Here's a brand new creative team. Here are the rules that they are going to abide by. This is the universe that this character lives in, right? Because I don't care if a creative team comes on Batman and says, I don't like the stuff from the last era. I want to take from this era and then add these in. Okay, fine.
It's always that. I think sometimes it's just differentiating yourself from the previous run or trying to stick out.
Oh, right. But they need to create the rules, your left and right limits, right? That we can believe in.
Because it's kind of to the point where I'm more interested in the new Batman Robin series, with Kenny Johnson taking over, than I am for 153 of Batman.
And that makes sense. But I'm just saying, if they would give themselves the left and right limits based on a continuity, right? They don't have to take in the entire continuity because it's been so here and there, honestly, that it's insane. But if you create left and right limits for yourself and you say, this is the universe that this character lives in, these are the rules that I am imposing on this character, and you live within them, then people are either going to be interested in the character or they're not. But I think if they did that, it would give a little more freedom to the creative team because they get to choose what continuity they want, right? And it would be good for the comic fans because then we can say, hey, I like this idea for Batman, and they live within it. Then we get a product that we enjoy, right? I think at this point, the continuity for characters that are 80, 90 years old is out the window.
Yeah.
And, then they have their creative freedoms, but it's within a world that we can accept and we enjoy. So I don't think that there needs to be some kind of big review of what is canon for each character. I think that as you put a creative team on it,
Mm-hmm.
you do that. And then you go with the manga idea
Mm-hmm.
of this is our start point, this is our finish
Yeah.
point. And if the next series
Mm-hmm.
is totally different, then the next series is totally different. Like let them choose their left and right limits. Do an issue 0,
Mm-hmm.
define the universe that this character lives in,
Mm-hmm.
and go. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that would give the ultimate jumping on point
Mm-hmm.
for people getting into the character,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it would give something for those of us who enjoy the character, a series that we can really enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, hey, let's take away Wayne Manor, let's take away all of Batman's money, pull all this stuff away from Batman to make him
Mm-hmm.
into something that we want.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you define that role? Am I going to enjoy that role, or are you going to chase people away from your book?
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, and then I think that the number one sales wouldn't be as astronomically different from your issue 4 and 5 sales,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're going to know what you're putting out there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you decide to end the run at 10, you're going to know you're doing that at issue 1,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, I think with the way that we are, the era we are in comics,
That's the one prep we'll give King is he hops on a book and he has an idea of how he wants character to change. When he came on Batman, he knew he wanted to do 100 issues.
right?
If he could shorten it to maybe 10 issue arcs,
But
people would probably like his run better.
even that, let's say he wanted a 100 run issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he had a Batman 0
Mm-hmm.
and it said, these are the limits for what I want this universe to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? How much more enjoyable would his run have been? Like, we would have an idea of where he wanted to go from where he wanted to start,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, dude, you just took Bruce Wayne and altered him, tore him down, and altered him completely.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey. And we would love for y'all to join Timmy's entourage and join us on our journey to Ragnarok.